Hey guys, tonight we're going to explore something that might just flip everything you thought you knew about ancient Egypt on its head. Picture yourself standing at the edge of the Giza plateau as the sun dips below the horizon, casting long shadows across what most people call tombs. But what if I told you that these massive stone monuments, the Great Pyramid, the Sphinx, the entire complex weren't built to house dead pharaohs at all? What if they were actually humanity's first planetary defense system, designed to protect Earth from cosmic threats that could wipe us out faster than you can say asteroid impact? You're probably thinking, this sounds like the plot of a bad sci-fi movie. And honestly, you probably won't survive the rabbit hole we're about to tumble down together. But stick with me, because the evidence is more compelling than your morning coffee addiction. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And hey, drop a comment letting me know where you're listening from and what time it is in your corner of the world. I love seeing how this community spans the globe. Now, dim the lights. Maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You find yourself transported back 4,500 years, standing where ancient engineers are putting the finishing touches on what mainstream archaeology insists is Khufu's tomb. But as you watch these workers, something feels off. The precision is too perfect, the mathematics too advanced, the purpose too mysterious. The Great Pyramid isn't just big, it's impossibly accurate, aligned to true north within 3/60th of a degree. That's more precise than most modern buildings. You notice the workers aren't just stacking stones randomly. Every block, every angle, every measurement seems to serve a purpose that goes far beyond creating a fancy burial chamber. The pyramid's base perimeter, when divided by its height, gives you pi to several decimal places. Coincidence? The ancient Egyptians would probably laugh at your nivety. As you observe this construction, you realize you're witnessing something that challenges everything you learned in history class. The mainstream narrative tells us these monuments were built by a civilization that supposedly didn't even have the wheel widespread in their construction techniques. Yet somehow they moved to 0.3 million stone blocks, some weighing up to 80 tons, with mathematical precision that would make modern engineers weep with envy. But here's where it gets interesting and slightly unsettling. You notice that the Great Pyramid's dimensions aren't just mathematically elegant, they're astronomically significant. The structure's height multiplied by 43,200 gives you the polar radius of Earth. Multiply the base perimeter by the same number, and you get Earth's equatorial circumference. Either the ancient Egyptians had a really good guess about our planet's dimensions, or they knew something we're only now beginning to understand. You watch as the workers carefully position the capstone, or rather, the space where a capstone should be. The pyramid was apparently designed to be incomplete, its apex left open to the sky. This isn't the mark of unfinished work, it's intentional. The missing capstone creates a platform, a focal point, almost like the business end of some massive technological device. Historians still argue whether the ancient Egyptians possessed advanced knowledge of mathematics and astronomy, or if these correlations are simply remarkable coincidences. But as you stand there in the desert wind, watching the sun's rays align perfectly with the pyramid's edges during the equinox, coincidence starts to feel like a pretty weak explanation. The Sphinx, that enigmatic guardian with its weathered face, stares eastward toward the rising sun, but you notice something peculiar about its erosion patterns. The weathering on its body suggests water damage, lots of it. The last time the Giza plateau saw that kind of rainfall was around 10,000 BCE, thousands of years before conventional dating places these monuments. Either the Sphinx is much older than we think, or ancient Egypt had some seriously impressive sprinkler systems. You find yourself drawn to the internal structure of the Great Pyramid, where narrow shafts extend from the so-called king's and queen's chambers. These aren't ventilation shafts, as some suggest they're too narrow and don't reach the surface. Instead, they point with laser-like precision to specific stars, Orion, Draco, and others that held deep significance in ancient Egyptian cosmology. These shafts seem designed to channel something energy, information, or perhaps something we don't yet understand. The chamber acoustics are equally puzzling. You discover that the king's chamber resonates at a frequency of 110 Hz, a tone that modern research suggests can alter human consciousness and brain activity. Stand in that chamber and speak, and your voice takes on an otherworldly quality, as if the room itself is designed to amplify and transform sound in ways that seem almost supernatural. As you explore deeper, you realize that the entire Giza complex operates as a unified system. The three main pyramids align with Orion's belt, not as it appeared when they were supposedly built, but as it appeared around 10,500 BCE, again pushing back the timeline and suggesting these monuments encode astronomical information spanning millennia. The precision extends beyond individual structures to the complex as a whole. The Great Pyramid sits at the exact center of Earth's landmass, equidistant from the North Pole and the equator when you account for the oblate shape of our planet. The odds of this being accidental are astronomically literally. It's as if the builders had access to satellite imagery and GPS coordinates thousands of years before such technology existed. You begin to notice that conventional explanations for these monuments feel increasingly inadequate. The idea that they're simply tombs starts to crumble under the weight of evidence. No mummies were ever found in the pyramid's main chambers. No hieroglyphic inscriptions adorned their walls. No burial goods, no canopic jars, none of the elaborate death preparations that characterize actual Egyptian tombs. Instead, you find structures that seem designed for function rather than ceremony, precision rather than decoration, technology rather than symbolism. The Great Pyramid's internal chambers contain what appear to be resonance chambers, acoustic amplifiers, and geometric forms that suggest purposes far removed from housing the dead. The mathematical relationships embedded in these structures suggest their builders understood principles of physics, astronomy, and engineering that wouldn't be discovered by Western science for thousands of years. They encoded the speed of light, the precession of the equinoxes, and the dimensions of Earth with an accuracy that seems impossible for a civilization supposedly working with copper tools and rope. As you stand in the shadow of these monuments, you can't shake the feeling that you're looking at technology disguised as architecture, function masquerading as form. The question isn't whether the ancient Egyptians were more advanced than we give them credit for, it's whether they were working with knowledge and purposes that we're only now beginning to glimpse. The desert wind carries whispers of secrets buried in stone, of purposes hidden in plain sight, of a civilization that may have been preparing for threats we can barely imagine. And as the stars begin to appear in the darkening sky, you realize that the real mystery of Giza isn't what these monuments are, it's what they were designed to do. You find yourself drawn deeper into the mystery as you examine the construction techniques that mainstream archaeology struggles to explain. The precision of the stonework becomes more apparent as you run your hands along the joints between massive blocks joints so tight that you can't slip a piece of paper between them. This isn't the work of copper chisels and wooden levers. This is precision engineering that would challenge modern construction. Crews armed with laser levels and computer-controlled machinery. The blocks themselves tell a story that doesn't match the official narrative. You discover that many of the stones show evidence of being cut with tools that created perfectly smooth surfaces and precise angles. Some blocks bear marks that look suspiciously like saw cuts, but these would require saws with teeth harder than the granite they cut. The ancient Egyptians supposedly didn't have steel, yet somehow they achieved results that would require diamond-tipped tools. As you explore the quarries where these stones originated, you find evidence that challenges everything you thought you knew about ancient logistics. Some of the granite blocks came from Aswan, over 500 miles south of Giza, moving 80-ton blocks that distance using the technology supposedly available to the ancient Egyptians would be like trying to deliver a modern aircraft carrier using nothing but rowboats and determination. But here's where it gets weird, and I mean question everything you learned in school weird. You discover that the Great Pyramid contains approximately 144,000 casing stones, each cut to fit its specific position with mathematical precision. The probability of achieving this level of accuracy by trial and error is so low that you'd have better odds of winning the lottery while being struck by lightning during a solar eclipse. The internal structure reveals even more puzzling features. You find yourself crawling through the so-called air shafts that extend from the king's chamber, only to discover they're not really shafts at all. They're more like waveguides, designed with the kind of precision you'd expect in a radio telescope or particle accelerator. The angles, dimensions, and materials seem chosen to channel specific frequencies or energies in ways that suggest purposes far beyond simple ventilation. Historians still argue whether these features represent advanced ancient knowledge or remarkable coincidences, but as you examine the evidence, coincidence starts to feel like intellectual laziness. The acoustic properties of the chambers, the precise astronomical alignments, the mathematical relationships embedded in every dimension at all points to intentional design for specific technological purposes. You discover that the Great Pyramid's missing capstone isn't just an architectural quirk, it's a crucial component of what appears to be a massive technological system. The pyramid's shape creates a natural resonance chamber, and the missing top would have served as a focal point for whatever energies the structure was designed to collect, amplify, or transmit. Think of it as the world's first satellite dish, only instead of receiving television signals, it might have been designed to interact with cosmic forces. We're only beginning to understand. The Sphinx adds another layer to this technological puzzle. Its position and orientation aren't random, it's precisely aligned to mark the spring equinox, when day and night are equal. But more intriguingly, its gaze is fixed on the point where the constellation Leo would have risen on the spring equinox around 10,500 BCE. This suggests the entire complex was designed to function as a massive astronomical clock, marking not just seasons but cosmic cycles spanning thousands of years. You find evidence that the ancient Egyptians understood precession, the slow wobble of Earth's axis that causes the positions of stars to shift over roughly 26,000 year cycles. This knowledge wouldn't be rediscovered by Western astronomy until the work of Hipparchus in ancient Greece, yet it appears to be encoded in the very foundations of Giza. Either the Egyptians were remarkably sophisticated astronomers, or they inherited this knowledge from an even older civilization. The water erosion patterns on the Sphinx become more significant as you examine them closely. The The weathering extends well below ground level, suggesting the monument was subjected to heavy rainfall for extended periods. But the Sahara has been arid for at least 5,000 years. If the conventional dating is correct, the Sphinx should show wind erosion, not water damage. The fact that it bears the scars of ancient floods suggests either the timeline is wrong, or the climate was very different when these monuments were built. As you piece together these clues, a picture emerges of a civilization that possessed knowledge and capabilities that don't fit our understanding of ancient history. The precision of the construction, the advanced mathematics, the astronomical alignments, the acoustic properties all point to purposes that go far beyond creating impressive tombs for dead kings. You begin to see the Giza complex not as a collection of individual monuments, but as components of a larger system. The pyramids, the Sphinx, the various temples and causeways, they're all positioned with mathematical precision relative to each other and two key astronomical markers. It's as if the entire plateau was designed as a single, massive instrument, for purposes we can only guess at. The implications are staggering. If these monuments weren't tombs but technological devices, then we need to completely rethink our understanding of ancient Egyptian civilization. We're not looking at the products of a society that was just beginning to understand engineering and astronomy. We're looking at the remnants of a technological civilization that may have been more advanced than we are today in certain crucial ways. The evidence suggests that whoever built Giza understood principles of physics, mathematics, and astronomy that we're only now rediscovering. They encoded this knowledge in stone, creating monuments that would survive floods, earthquakes, and the rise and fall of civilizations. These weren't just buildings, they were libraries, laboratories, and possibly defensive installations designed to protect Earth from cosmic threats we're only beginning to understand. You find yourself standing in the king's chamber at the heart of the Great Pyramid, and something feels fundamentally different about this space. The mainstream explanation tells you this was Khufu's burial chamber, but as you examine the room more closely, it becomes clear that this was never designed to house a dead pharaoh. The chamber is stark, undecorated, and built with a level of precision that suggests function over ceremony. The granite sarcophagus in the corner isn't really a sarcophagus at all, at least not in the traditional sense. You notice that it's too large to have been brought through the pyramid's passages, meaning it was installed during construction, not after. More intriguingly, when struck, it resonates at a specific frequency that matches the chamber's own acoustic properties. This isn't a coffin, it's a resonance chamber, possibly designed to amplify or focus specific sound frequencies. The acoustic properties of this room are unlike anything you'd expect in a tomb. Speak normally, and your voice takes on an otherworldly quality, as if the chamber itself is designed to alter sound in specific ways. Researchers have discovered that the room resonates most strongly at 110 Hz, a frequency that modern neuroscience has shown can alter human consciousness, reduce activity in the prefrontal cortex, and induce states similar to meditation or trance. You begin to understand that you're standing inside what might be humanity's first acoustic laboratory. The dimensions of the chamber, the materials used in its construction, even the positioning of the granite coffer, everything seems designed to create and manipulate specific sound frequencies. It's as if the ancient builders understood principles of acoustics and consciousness that we're only now beginning to explore. But the chamber's mysteries extend beyond sound. You discover that it's positioned at exactly 1/3 of the pyramid's height, a placement that creates specific geometric relationships with the structure's overall design. The chamber sits at the intersection of multiple energy lines that run through the pyramid, almost like the focal point of a massive lens designed to collect and concentrate forces we don't fully understand. The ventilation shafts that extend from this chamber tell their own story. These narrow passages, barely wide enough for a person to crawl through, extend at precise angles toward specific stars. But they're not really ventilation shafts. They don't reach the pyramid's surface, and their dimensions are too specific to be random. They're more like targeting systems, designed to align with particular celestial objects at specific times. Historians still argue whether these alignments represent advanced astronomical knowledge or elaborate religious symbolism, but the precision involved suggests practical rather than ceremonial purposes. The southern shaft from the King's Chamber points directly at Orion's belt as it appeared around 2500 BCE, while the northern shaft targets the pole star of that era. These aren't approximate alignments, they're laser precise, suggesting the builders had both sophisticated astronomical knowledge and specific technological reasons for these orientations. You realize that the entire chamber functions as a kind of cosmic receiver, designed to capture and focus energies from specific stellar sources. The granite construction materials contain quartz crystals that can generate piezoelectric effects under pressure, the same principle used in modern electronics. When the massive weight of the pyramid above creates pressure on these crystals, they could theoretically generate electrical charges. The chamber's position within the pyramid creates another intriguing possibility. Located at the structure's center of mass, it would be the most stable point during any seismic activity. If the pyramid were designed to function during earthquakes or other geological disturbances, this chamber would be the logical location for critical components or operations. As you examine the walls more closely, you notice something that most visitors miss: subtle variations in the stone that suggest the chamber was designed with specific electromagnetic properties in mind. The granite contains high levels of quartz and feldspar minerals that can interact with electromagnetic fields in ways that might have been understood by the ancient builders. The temperature in the chamber remains constant year-round at exactly 68 degrees Fahrenheit, the same as the average temperature inside the pyramid. This isn't coincidence. That's the result of careful engineering that takes advantage of the structure's thermal mass and the specific heat properties of the materials used. The chamber functions as a natural climate control system, maintaining optimal conditions for whatever processes it was designed to facilitate. You begin to see the King's Chamber not as a burial room, but as the control center of a vast technological system. The acoustic properties, the electromagnetic characteristics, the astronomical alignments, the precise positioning within the pyramidal suggests this room was designed to serve as the operational heart of whatever the Great Pyramid was really built to do. The implications are mind-bending. If this chamber was designed to manipulate consciousness through sound, collect energy from stellar sources, and maintain optimal operating conditions for advanced processes, then we're looking at technology that rivals anything we have today. The ancient builders didn't just understand these principles, they implemented them in stone with a permanence that has lasted for millennia. Standing in this chamber, you can't escape the feeling that you're inside a machine built on a scale and with a purpose that we're only beginning to comprehend. The question isn't whether the ancient Egyptians were more advanced than we thought. It's whether they were working with knowledge and technologies that we've lost and are only now beginning to rediscover. The chamber seems to pulse with potential energy, as if it's waiting to be activated, waiting for someone to understand its true purpose and bring it back to life. And as you stand there in the heart of this ancient mystery, you realize that the real question isn't what this room was designed to do, it's whether it's still capable of doing it. You find yourself examining the Queen's Chamber, and immediately you notice that calling it a Queen's Chamber is probably the first mistake archaeologists made about this space. Unlike the King's Chamber above, this room was never finished. In the conventional sense, its walls are rough, unpolished, and it lacks the refined granite construction of its counterpart. But this apparent incompleteness might actually be the most important clue to its real purpose. The chamber sits at the pyramid's heart, positioned with mathematical precision along the structure's central axis. You discover that it's located at exactly the pyramid's golden ratio point, that magical, mathematical relationship that appears throughout nature and seems to be fundamental to how the universe organizes itself. This isn't the kind of placement you'd choose for a secondary burial chamber. It's where you'd put the most critical component of a complex system. As you explore the room, you notice something peculiar about its construction. The walls contain a high concentration of salt deposits, not the kind you'd expect from groundwater seepage, but crystalline formations that suggest chemical processes once took place here. These aren't random mineral deposits. They're the kind of residue you might find in a laboratory where specific chemical reactions were conducted over long periods. The chamber's most intriguing feature is a niche, cut into its eastern wall, a precisely carved recess that serves no obvious decorative or structural purpose. The niche is positioned at exactly the chamber's center point and appears to have been designed to hold something specific. Its dimensions and positioning suggest it was meant to house a device or component that was crucial to the chamber's function. You discover that this chamber has its own set of shafts, similar to those in the King's Chamber, but with crucial differences. These passages were sealed at both ends, creating enclosed conduits that don't connect to the outside air. They're not ventilation shafts, they're something else entirely. Recent robotic exploration has revealed that these shafts contain copper fittings and what appear to be electrodes, suggesting they were designed to conduct electricity or other forms of energy. The acoustic properties of the Queen's Chamber are different from those of the King's Chamber, but equally intriguing. The room resonates at frequencies that are harmonically related to those of the chamber above, creating a kind of acoustic coupling between the two spaces. It's as if the pyramid's internal chambers were designed to work together as components of a larger harmonic system. Historians still argue whether the Queen's Chamber was left unfinished due to changes in burial plans, or whether its rough appearance was intentional. But the evidence suggests the latter. The chamber's unfinished state might actually represent its completed former, functional space designed for processes that required specific surface textures and material properties rather than aesthetic appeal. You begin to understand that the Queen's Chamber might have served as the pyramid's power generation center. The salt deposits, the copper fittings in the shafts, the precise positioning within the structural point to electrochemical processes that could have generated electrical current. The chamber's design resembles nothing so much as a massive battery, using the pyramid's internal chemistry and the pressure of its construction to create electrical energy. The relationship between the Queen's Chamber and the Grand Gallery above becomes clearer as you examine the connecting passages. The Grand Gallery, with its corbelled ceiling and precise acoustic properties, appears to have been designed as a resonance amplifier, a space where sound waves could be focused and intensified before being directed toward the chambers below. You discover that the chamber's positioning creates specific geometric relationships with the pyramid's external features. Lines drawn from the chamber through the pyramid's apex point directly at significant astronomical objects, while other alignments connect it to the Sphinx and other monuments in the Giza complex. The chamber isn't just part of the pyramid, it's a crucial node in a larger network of interconnected structures. The chemical analysis of the chamber's walls reveals traces of elements that shouldn't be there if this were simply a burial chamber. You find evidence of hydrogen gas generation, possibly from chemical reactions between the pyramid's internal materials and groundwater. Hydrogen is highly reactive and could have been used in various technological processes or as a fuel source for activities we can only speculate about. The chamber's connection to the pyramid's internal water systems becomes apparent as you trace the flow of moisture through the structure. The pyramid appears to have been designed to channel groundwater through specific pathways, creating a hydraulic system that could have powered mechanical devices or facilitated chemical reactions. The Queen's chamber sits at a crucial junction in this system, positioned to take advantage of both water flow and pressure differentials. As you piece together the evidence, you begin to see the Queen's chamber as the pyramid's engine room, space where chemical, electrical, and mechanical processes converged to power whatever the structure was really designed to do. The rough walls, the salt deposits, the sealed shafts with their copper fittings, all suggest industrial processes rather than ceremonial functions. The implications are staggering. If the Queen's chamber was indeed a power generation facility, then the Great Pyramid wasn't just a monument, it was a machine. A technological device built on a massive scale for purposes that required significant amounts of energy. The ancient builders didn't just understand basic chemistry and physics. They implemented these principles in a structure designed to operate for thousands of years. Standing in this chamber, you can almost feel the potential energy still present in its walls, as if the ancient systems are dormant rather than dead. The question isn't whether the pyramid was designed as a technological device. It's whether that technology could still function if we understood how to activate it. You find yourself ascending the grand gallery, and immediately you realize this isn't just a corridor. It's one of the most sophisticated pieces of ancient engineering you've ever encountered. The space soars above you with a corbelled ceiling that rises nearly 30 feet, creating an acoustic chamber that seems designed to amplify and focus sound waves with surgical precision. Every stone in this passage was cut and placed with mathematical exactitude that would challenge modern construction techniques. The gallery's floor is polished to a mirror finish, but it's not smooth. It contains a series of precisely cut slots and grooves that run along its length. These aren't decorative elements or wear patterns. They're engineered features that appear designed to hold or guide mechanical components. You can almost visualize ancient machinery sliding along these tracks, perhaps moving massive stone blocks or positioning acoustic devices with the precision of a modern factory assembly line. The walls of the gallery contain a series of rectangular holes cut into the limestone with laser-like precision. These niches are positioned at regular intervals and appear to have once held wooden or metal beams that supported some kind of mechanism. The holes are too precisely placed and uniformly sized to be random architectural features. They're mounting points for a system that once operated within this space. As you examine the gallery's acoustic properties, you discover something remarkable. The space functions as a massive resonance chamber designed to amplify specific frequencies while dampening others. When sound is introduced at the gallery's base, it travels up the inclined passage, gaining intensity and focus as it moves toward The king's chamber above. It's like standing inside a giant musical instrument designed to transform and direct acoustic energy. The gallery's angle of inclination isn't arbitrary, it matches the pyramid's internal geometry with mathematical precision, creating sightlines and acoustic pathways that connect it to the chambers above and below. This isn't just a passage between rooms. It's a crucial component in a system designed to channel energy, information, or both throughout the pyramid's internal structure. You notice that the gallery's construction incorporates different types of stone in specific patterns. The lower courses are limestone, while the upper sections include granite elements that would have different acoustic and electromagnetic properties. This isn't random material selection, it's engineered variation, designed to create specific effects as energy moves through the space. Historians still argue whether the Grand Gallery served as a storage area for construction materials or had some ceremonial function, but the evidence points to neither explanation. The precision of its construction, the sophisticated acoustic properties, and the engineered features built into its structure all suggest this was a functional space designed for technological rather than ceremonial purposes. The gallery's relationship to the pyramid's other internal features becomes clearer as you trace the pathways of energy and information through the structure. Sound waves generated in the Queen's chamber below could be channeled up through connecting passages, amplified in the Grand Gallery, and focused into the King's chamber above. The entire system appears designed to work as an integrated acoustic network. You discover that the gallery's dimensions encode the same mathematical relationships found throughout the pyramid: pi, the golden ratio, and various astronomical constants. These aren't coincidental proportions, they're engineered specifications that suggest the gallery was designed to interact with natural forces and cosmic cycles in ways that we're only beginning to understand. The precision of the stonework becomes even more apparent as you examine the joints between blocks. The gallery was constructed using techniques that allowed massive limestone blocks to be fitted together, with tolerances measured in fractions of inches. This level of precision requires not just skilled craftsmanship, but advanced planning and measurement techniques that rival anything we can achieve today. As you stand in the gallery, you begin to understand that you're inside a piece of ancient technology that operated on principles we're only now rediscovering. The acoustic amplification, the precision engineering, the integration with the pyramid's other systems all point to a level of technological sophistication that doesn't match our understanding of ancient Egyptian capabilities. The gallery's design suggests it was meant to handle significant amounts of energy or information. The robust construction, the engineered mounting points, the sophisticated acoustic properties all indicate this space was designed for intensive use rather than occasional ceremonial functions. Whatever operated here was powerful enough to require the kind of engineering typically associated with modern industrial facilities. You realize that the Grand Gallery might have been the pyramid's primary control center, the space where ancient operators managed whatever processes the structure was designed to facilitate. The acoustic properties would have allowed precise communication throughout the pyramid's internal network, while the engineered features could have supported complex mechanical or electronic systems. The implications are mind-bending. If the Grand Gallery was indeed a technological control center, then the Great Pyramid wasn't just an impressive monument. It was a functioning facility operated by people who understood principles of engineering, acoustics, and energy management that we're only now beginning to appreciate. The ancient builders didn't just move big stones, They created a sophisticated technological system that operated for purposes we can only speculate about. Standing in this ancient corridor, you can almost hear the echoes of whatever activities once took place. Hear the hum of machinery, the resonance of acoustic signals, the precise movements of operators who understood how to harness and direct forces that we're still struggling to comprehend. You find yourself exploring the pyramid's internal passage system, and what you discover challenges everything you thought you knew about ancient construction techniques. These aren't just corridors connecting chambers, they're precisely engineered conduits designed to channel specific types of energy and information throughout the structure with the efficiency of a modern fiber optic network. The descending passage, which leads from the pyramid's entrance toward the subterranean chamber, descends at an angle of exactly 26 degrees, 18 minutes, and 9.7 seconds. This isn't a convenient construction angle, it's an astronomical alignment that points directly at the star Thuban, which served as the pole star around 2600 BCE. The passage functions as a massive telescope, allowing observers to track the movement of this crucial navigational star with extraordinary precision. As you crawl through the ascending passage, you notice that its dimensions are barely large enough for a human body. This wasn't designed for comfortable travel, it was engineered for specific functional requirements. The passage's cross-section creates acoustic properties that allow sound waves to travel efficiently between the pyramid's chambers, while its angle and length create sightlines that connect the internal spaces to external astronomical phenomena. The junction where the ascending passage meets the grand gallery reveals sophisticated engineering that would challenge modern architects. The transition between different passage sizes and angles is accomplished with mathematical precision that ensures structural integrity while maintaining the canoptic and optical properties of both spaces. This isn't simple stone cutting, it's systems engineering implemented in limestone and granite. You discover that the passage system incorporates what appear to be acoustic dampeners, precisely placed stones that absorb or redirect sound waves to prevent unwanted resonances or echoes. These features suggest the ancient builders understood principles of acoustic engineering that wouldn't be formally developed by Western science for thousands of years. The well shaft, a narrow passage that connects the descending passage to the grand gallery, presents another engineering puzzle. This shaft was carved through solid limestone with perfect verticality, creating a connection between the pyramid's upper and lower levels that bypasses the normal passage system. Its purpose remains mysterious, but its precision suggests it served a specific technological function rather than providing emergency access. Historians still argue whether these passages were designed for human access or served other purposes, but the evidence increasingly points to the latter. Many of the passages are too narrow for comfortable human movement, yet they're engineered with a precision that suggests they were crucial to the pyramid's overall function. The passage system's integration with the pyramid's chambers reveals a sophisticated understanding of how energy moves through enclosed spaces, sound waves, electromagnetic fields, and possibly other forms of energy could be channeled, focused, and directed throughout. The structure using principles that modern physics is only beginning to fully understand. You notice that the passages incorporate different materials at specific points: granite plugs, limestone blocks, and what appear to be metallic elements that could have served as conductors or insulators. These aren't random construction choices. They're engineered specifications designed to create specific electrical or acoustic properties within the passage system. The ventilation shafts that extend from the king's and queen's chambers aren't really ventilation shafts at all their precision-engineered conduits that connect the pyramid's internal spaces to specific points on its external surfaces. Recent robotic exploration has revealed that these shafts contain copper elements and what appear to be electronic components, suggesting they served functions far more sophisticated than simple air circulation. As you trace the pathways through the pyramid's internal network, you begin to see the structure as a massive information processing system. The passages don't just connect spaces, they create pathways for energy, data, and possibly consciousness itself to move through the structure in ways that were carefully planned and precisely implemented. The acoustic properties of the passage system create what amounts to an ancient communication network. Sounds generated in one chamber can be transmitted to other parts of the pyramid through the passage system, allowing coordination of activities throughout the structure. It's like a Stone Age intercom system, but one that operates on principles of acoustic engineering that demonstrate remarkable sophistication. You realize that the passage system might have been designed to handle multiple types of energy simultaneously. The same conduits that carry sound waves could also channel electromagnetic fields, while the precise angles and dimensions could focus or redirect various forms of radiation in ways that served the pyramid's overall technological purposes. The engineering tolerances maintained throughout the passage system are extraordinary. Passages that extend for hundreds of feet maintain their dimensions and angles with precision that would challenge modern construction techniques. This level of accuracy requires not just skilled craftsmanship, but advanced surveying and measurement capabilities that suggest the ancient builders had access to sophisticated tools and techniques. Standing within these ancient conduits, you can't escape the feeling that you're inside a machine built on a massive scale and designed to operate according to principles that we're only now beginning to understand. The passages aren't just empty spaces. They're functional components of a technological system that integrated architecture, engineering, and physics in ways that continue to challenge our understanding of what ancient civilizations could achieve. You find yourself descending into the subterranean chamber, the most mysterious and least understood space within the Great Pyramid. Unlike the precisely finished chambers above, this room appears rough and unfinished, carved directly from the bedrock beneath the pyramid's foundation. But as you examine this space more closely, you begin to suspect that its apparently crude construction might be the most sophisticated deception in the entire structure. The chamber lies 100 feet below the pyramid's base, accessed through a passage that maintains perfect geometric relationships with the structure above. This isn't a randomly placed basement, it's positioned with the same mathematical precision that characterizes every other element of the pyramid's design. The depth, the location, the orientational suggests this chamber was as carefully planned as any other part of the complex. What strikes you immediately is the chamber's acoustic properties, despite its rough appearance. The space resonates with specific frequencies that create harmonic relationships with the chambers above. When sound is generated here, it travels through the connecting passages and interacts with the acoustic properties of the entire pyramid system. It's as if this crude-looking chamber serves as the bass note in a massive stone orchestra. The chamber contains what appears to be an unfinished shaft extending further into the bedrock, a passage that seems to lead nowhere and serves no obvious purpose. But recent ground-penetrating radar surveys have revealed that this shaft connects to a complex network of natural and artificial cavities beneath the Giza plateau. The chamber isn't isolated, it's part of a larger, underground system that extends far beyond the pyramid itself. you discover evidence of water activity in this chamber, not just seepage from groundwater, but signs of controlled water flow that suggest hydraulic engineering. The floor contains channels and depressions that appear designed to direct water movement, while the walls show mineral deposits that indicate specific chemical processes took place here over extended periods. The chamber's connection to the pyramid's internal water systems becomes apparent as you trace the flow of moisture through the structure. The Great Pyramid appears to have been designed as a massive hydraulic pump, using the pressure differentials created by its internal geometry to move water through specific pathways. The subterranean chamber sits at a crucial point in this system, positioned to take advantage of both natural groundwater flow and the hydraulic pressure generated by the pyramid's mass. As you examine the chamber's walls more closely, you notice something that most visitors miss: tool marks that don't match the copper and stone. Implements supposedly available to the ancient Egyptians. The cutting patterns suggest the use of advanced drilling and excavation techniques that could remove large amounts of rock quickly and precisely. These aren't the marks left by primitive tools. They're evidence of sophisticated excavation technology. The chamber's temperature remains constant year-round, but it's significantly cooler than the chambers above. This temperature differential creates convection currents that could drive air circulation throughout the pyramid's internal spaces. The subterranean chamber might have served as the pyramid's climate control center, using natural thermodynamics to maintain optimal conditions in the chambers above. Historians still argue whether this chamber was left unfinished due to changes in construction plans or whether its rough appearance was intentional, but the evidence increasingly supports the latter theory. The chamber's unfinished state might actually represent its completed former functional space, where raw, unpolished surfaces were necessary for the processes it was designed to facilitate. You begin to understand that the subterranean chamber might have served as the pyramid's foundation in more ways than one. Not just structurally, but functionally, the base level of a technological system that extended both upward through the pyramid and downward into the bedrock beneath. The chamber connects the pyramid to the earth itself, tapping into geological forces and underground water systems that could power the structure's operations. The chamber's position relative to the pyramid's center of mass creates specific gravitational effects that could have been exploited for technological purposes. Modern physics tells us that massive structures like the Great Pyramid create measurable distortions in local gravitational fields. The ancient builders might have understood these principles and designed the subterranean chamber to take advantage of gravitational anomalies for purposes we can only speculate about. As you explore the chamber's connection to the underground water table, you discover that the pyramid sits atop a natural aquifer that could provide both hydraulic power and chemical reactants for various processes. The chamber's design allows it to interface with this underground water system, potentially using the flow and pressure of groundwater to drive mechanical systems or facilitate chemical reactions. The acoustic coupling between the subterranean chamber and the spaces above creates what amounts to a massive resonance system that encompasses the entire pyramid. Low-frequency vibrations generated in this chamber could travel through the structure's stone matrix, creating harmonic effects that might have been used for purposes ranging from consciousness alteration to materials processing. You realize that the chamber's rough appearance might have been necessary for its function. Smooth, finished surfaces would have different acoustic, thermal, and chemical properties than the raw limestone walls you see here. The ancient builders might have deliberately left this space unfinished because its technological requirements demanded specific surface textures and material properties. the chamber's integration with the pyramid's overall design becomes clearer as you consider its role in the structure's energy systems. If the pyramid was designed to collect, amplify, and focus various forms of energy, the subterranean chamber would serve as the grounding point, the place where excess energy could be safely dissipated into the earth, or where power could be drawn from geological sources. Standing in this ancient space, you can't escape the feeling that you're at the foundation of something much larger than a simple burial monument. The chamber connects the pyramid to forces and systems that extend far beyond the structure itself, into the bedrock, into the water table, into the very geological foundations of the Giza plateau. The implications are staggering. If the subterranean chamber was indeed a functional component of a larger technological system, then the Great Pyramid wasn't just built on the Earth. It was designed to interface with the Earth, to tap into planetary forces and geological processes for purposes that we're only beginning to understand. Asterisk. You emerge from the pyramid's interior and step back to examine the structure from the outside, and immediately you notice something that most tourists miss entirely: the Great Pyramid's surface isn't just weathered limestone blocks. Originally, this monument was covered in a smooth casing of polished white limestone that would have made it gleam like a beacon across the desert. Visible from dozens of miles away, the casing stones weren't just decorative, they were precision engineered components that served specific technological functions. Each stone was cut to tolerances measured in fractions of inches and fitted so perfectly that the joints between them were nearly invisible. The surface they created wasn't just smooth, it was optically perfect, capable of reflecting light with the precision of a modern mirror. As you examine the few remaining casing stones at the pyramid's base, you discover that they contain a high percentage of quartz crystals embedded in the limestone matrix. When subjected to pressure, like the enormous weight of the pyramid above these crystals would generate piezoelectric effects, creating electrical charges that could be harvested and used for various purposes. The entire outer surface of the pyramid might have functioned as a massive electrical generator. The pyramid's shape itself becomes more significant when you consider its electrical properties. The structure forms a natural capacitor, with the conductive elements in its core separated from the external environment by the insulating properties of the limestone blocks. When the casing stones were in place, the pyramid would have been capable of storing and releasing electrical energy on a massive scale. You notice that the pyramid's base perimeter, when measured precisely, equals exactly half a minute of latitude at the equator. This isn't a coincidence, it's evidence that the ancient builders had accurate knowledge of Earth's dimensions and used this information to encode specific mathematical relationships into the structure's design. The pyramid serves as a scale model of the Northern Hemisphere, built with precision that wouldn't be matched until the development of modern surveying techniques. The missing capstone becomes more significant when you consider the pyramid's electrical properties. The apex of the structure would have served as the focal point for any tectrical charges generated by the piezoelectric effects in the casing stones. Without a capstone, the pyramid remains an open circuitor, massive electrical device that's incomplete and therefore non-functional. Historians still argue whether the pyramid ever had a capstone or whether it was designed to remain incomplete, but the electrical engineering principles involved suggest the former. A conductive capstone, possibly made of gold or another metal, would have completed the electrical circuit and allowed the pyramid to function as intended. The pyramid's orientation becomes more meaningful when you consider its relationship to Earth's magnetic field. The structure is aligned to true north with extraordinary precision, positioning it to interact optimally with the planet's magnetic lines of force. This alignment would have been crucial if the pyramid was designed to tap into or manipulate electromagnetic energies. As you walk around the pyramid's base, you notice that it's not perfectly square, it's slightly rhomboid, with subtle variations that create specific geometric relationships. These aren't construction errors. They're engineered features that would have affected how energy moved through the structure and how it interacted with external electromagnetic fields. The pyramid's mass distribution creates measurable effects on local gravitational fields, EXIF, that modern physics can detect, but that we're only beginning to understand. The ancient builders might have been aware of these gravitational anomalies and designed the pyramid to take advantage of them for purposes that remain mysterious. You discover that the pyramid's external geometry creates natural focusing effects for various forms of electromagnetic radiation. Radio waves, microwaves, and other frequencies are concentrated and amplified by the structure's shape, creating zones of intense electromagnetic activity around the monument. These effects would have been even more pronounced when the reflective casing stones were in place. The relationship between the pyramid's external form and its internal chambers becomes clearer when you consider how electromagnetic energy would move through the structure. The chambers and passages aren't just empty spaces there, positioned to take advantage of the focusing effects created by the pyramid's external geometry, concentrating electromagnetic energy at specific points within the structure. As you step back to view the pyramid from a distance, you begin to see it not as a static monument, but as a dynamic system designed to interact with forces and energies that surround it constantly. The structure doesn't just sit passively in the desert, it actively engages with electromagnetic fields, gravitational forces, and possibly other phenomena that we don't yet fully understand. The pyramid's design suggests it was meant to function as a massive antenna or transceiver, capable of receiving, amplifying, and transmitting various forms of energy across vast distances. The precision of its construction, the mathematical relationships encoded in its dimensions, and the sophisticated engineering of its internal systems all point to purposes that go far beyond simple monument construction. Standing in the shadow of this ancient marvel, you realize that you're looking at technology disguised as architecture, a functional device built on a scale that dwarfs most modern engineering projects. The question isn't whether the pyramid was designed to serve technological purposes. It's whether we're advanced enough to understand and replicate what the ancient builders achieved. Asterisk, you find yourself examining the Sphinx, that enigmatic guardian that has watched over the Giza plateau for millennia, and immediately you notice something that doesn't fit the conventional timeline. The weathering patterns on the Sphinx's body tell a story that mainstream archaeology struggles to explain. These aren't the erosion patterns you'd expect from thousands of years of wind and sand, but the deep, vertical channels carved by heavy rainfall over extended periods. The problem is that the Sahara has been arid for at least 5,000 years, yet the Sphinx shows clear evidence of water erosion that would require centuries of substantial rainfall to create. Either the monument is much older than conventional dating suggests, or the climate of ancient Egypt was dramatically different from what we've been taught. The implications of either possibility are staggering. As you walk around the Sphinx, you notice that the weathering extends well below the current ground level, suggesting the monument was subjected to flooding or prolonged water exposure that reached depths now buried under centuries of sand accumulation. This isn't surface weathering, it's structural damage that penetrates deep into the limestone bedrock. The Sphinx's orientation becomes more significant. when you consider its astronomical alignments. The monument faces due east toward the point where the sun rises on the spring equinox. But more intriguingly, during the age of Leo, roughly 10,500 BC, either constellation, Leo would have risen directly in front of the Sphinx at dawn on the spring equinox. This suggests the monument was designed to mark a specific astronomical epoch, one that occurred thousands of years before conventional dating places. Egyptian civilization. You discover that the Sphinx's proportions encode mathematical relationships that appear throughout the Giza complex. The length of its body, the height of its head, the positioning of its paws all reflect the same geometric principles found in the pyramids. The Sphinx isn't just a decorative guardian, it's an integral component of the complex's overall design. The construction techniques used to create the Sphinx present their own mysteries. The body was carved from a single piece of limestone bedrock, requiring the removal of thousands of tons of stone with precision that would challenge modern excavation equipment. The tool marks visible on the monument's surface suggest cutting techniques that don't match the copper implements supposedly available to ancient Egyptian craftsmen. Historians still argue whether the Sphinx represents Pharaoh Khafre or serves some other symbolic purpose, but the evidence increasingly suggests the monument predates the pharaonic period entirely. The head appears to have been recarved from an original design, possibly to represent a specific ruler who wanted to claim credit for the monument's construction. The Sphinx's internal structure reveals chambers and passages that have only recently been discovered using ground-penetrating radar and seismic surveys. These internal spaces aren't natural cavities, they're precisely engineered chambers that appear to connect to the broader network of tunnels and cavities beneath the Giza plateau. As you examine the area around the Sphinx, you notice evidence of sophisticated water management systems that channeled runoff and controlled flooding around the monument. These aren't simple drainage ditches, they're engineered waterworks that suggest the ancient builders understood hydraulic principles and planned for water management on a massive scale. The Sphinx Temple, located directly in front of the monument, presents its own construction mysteries. The temple is built from massive limestone blocks, some weighing over 200 tons, that were quarried from the area around the Sphinx itself. The precision with which these enormous stones were cut, moved, and positioned rivals anything achieved by modern construction techniques. You begin to understand that the Sphinx serves as more than just a guardian figure. It's a key component in the Giza complex's astronomical and technological systems. Its positioning, orientation, and internal structure all suggest it was designed to work in conjunction with the pyramids to achieve purposes that we're only beginning to comprehend. The monument's relationship to underground water systems becomes apparent. As you trace the flow of groundwater beneath the plateau, the Sphinx sits at a crucial point where natural aquifers converge, positioning it to take advantage of hydraulic forces that could power mechanical systems or facilitate chemical processes. The acoustic properties of the Sphinx enclosure create another layer of mystery. The space functions as a natural amphitheater, with acoustic characteristics that would amplify and focus sound waves in specific ways. Combined with the resonance chambers within the pyramids, the entire complex appears designed to manipulate sound and vibration for purposes that remain enigmatic. As you stand before this ancient sentinel, you realize that the Sphinx represents a bridge between different eras of human civilization. Its water-worn surface speaks of a time when the Sahara was green and fertile, while its astronomical alignments point to knowledge of cosmic cycles that span tens of thousands of years. the monument challenges our understanding of when advanced civilization emerged on Earth and suggests that the builders of Giza possessed knowledge and capabilities that we're only now beginning to appreciate. The Sphinx doesn't just guard the pyramids, it guards secrets that could revolutionize our understanding of human history and technological development. Standing in its shadow, you can't escape the feeling that this ancient guardian is still watching, still waiting for humanity to develop the wisdom and understanding necessary to unlock the secrets it has protected for millennia. You find yourself exploring the broader Giza complex, and what you discover challenges the conventional view of these monuments as isolated structures built by individual pharaohs. The entire plateau appears to have been designed as a unified system, with each component positioned to work in harmony with the others according to principles that demonstrate remarkable sophistication. The three main pyramids traditionally attributed to Khufu and Menkaure, with the three stars of Orion's belt, but not as they appeared when the pyramids were supposedly built. Instead, they match the constellation's configuration as it appeared around 10,500 BCE, during the astronomical age of Leo. This suggests the entire complex was designed to commemorate or mark a specific epoch in Earth's cosmic history. As you examine the relative positions of the pyramids, you notice that their placement encodes mathematical relationships that extend far beyond simple stellar alignment. The distances between the structures, their relative heights, and their angular relationships all reflect geometric principles that appear throughout nature and seem to be fundamental to how the universe organizes itself. The causeways that connect the pyramids to their associated temples aren't just ceremonial pathways. They're precisely engineered conduits that create sightlines and energy pathways throughout the complex. These raised walkways maintain specific angles and orientations that suggest they served functional rather than purely ceremonial purposes. You discover that the entire complex sits atop a natural limestone plateau that has been extensively modified and engineered. The bedrock beneath the monuments has been carved, channeled, and shaped to create a foundation that serves specific technological purposes. This isn't just a convenient building site, it's an engineered platform designed to support and enhance the complex's operations. The underground tunnel systems that connect various parts of the complex reveal the true scope of the ancient engineering project. These aren't natural cavities or simple storage areas. They're precisely excavated passages that create a network of connections beneath the entire plateau. The tunnels maintain specific dimensions and orientations that suggest they were designed to channel energy, information, or both throughout the underground network. Historians still argue whether these underground systems were created by the ancient Egyptians or represent natural geological formations, but the precision of their construction and their integration with the surface monuments clearly indicate human engineering. The tunnels connect not just the pyramids but also various temples, subsidiary structures, and chambers that extend far beyond the visible monuments. The water management systems throughout the complex demonstrate sophisticated understanding of hydraulic engineering. The ancient builders created channels, reservoirs, and control structures that managed water flow across the entire plateau. These systems weren't just for practical purposes like construction or maintenance. They appear designed to harness hydraulic power for technological applications. As you trace the energy pathways through the complex, you begin to see how the various components work together as an integrated system. Sound waves generated in one structure can be transmitted to others through the underground network, while electromagnetic effects created by the pyramids can be focused and directed using the positioning and orientation of subsidiary structures. The complex's relationship to the Nile River becomes more significant when you consider its role as both a power source and a cooling system. The river's flow and seasonal variations could have been used to drive hydraulic machinery, while its thermal mass could help regulate temperatures throughout the underground network. You discover that the entire complex is positioned at a unique geographical location that maximizes its interaction with various natural forces. The plateau sits at the intersection of several geological features that create specific electromagnetic and gravitational effects. The ancient builders didn't just choose this location for its convenience, they selected it for its unique physical properties. The astronomical alignments throughout the complex extend far beyond the famous Orion correlation. Various structures and features align with different stars, planets, and cosmic phenomena, creating a kind of three-dimensional star map that encodes information about celestial mechanics and cosmic cycles. The mathematical relationships encoded throughout the complex suggest the builders possessed advanced knowledge of geometry, astronomy, and physics, the same mathematical constants that govern natural phenomena. The golden ratio. Various astronomical cycles appear repeatedly in the dimensions and proportions of the structures as you examine the complex from elevated viewpoints. You begin to see patterns that aren't apparent from ground level. The arrangement of structures creates geometric forms that are only visible from above, suggesting the builders planned the complex to be viewed and understood from perspectives that wouldn't be available to casual observers. The integration of natural and artificial features throughout the complex demonstrates remarkable planning and engineering skill. The builders didn't just impose their structures on the landscape, they worked with natural geological features to create a hybrid system that takes advantage of both human engineering and natural forces. Standing at the center of this ancient complex, you realize that you're not just looking at a collection of monuments, you're witnessing the remains of what might have been humanity's first large-scale technological installation. The precision, the integration, the sophisticated engineering all point to purposes that go far beyond simple monument construction or religious ceremony. The Giza complex represents a level of planning and execution that rivals modern engineering. Projects implemented with technologies and techniques that we're still struggling to understand. The question isn't whether the ancient builders were more advanced than we've given them credit for, it's whether they were working with knowledge and capabilities that we've lost and are only now beginning to rediscover. Asterisk. You find yourself examining the evidence for advanced ancient technologies at Giza, and what you discover challenges everything you thought you knew about the capabilities of ancient civilizations. The precision of the construction, the sophisticated engineering, and the mathematical relationships embedded throughout the complex all point to technological capabilities that seem impossible for a civilization supposedly working with copper, tools, and rope. The stone-cutting techniques used throughout the complex demonstrate precision that would challenge modern equipment. You find evidence of cuts made with tools that created perfectly straight lines, precise angles, and smooth surfaces that show no tool marks. Some stones appear to have been cut with saws that had teeth harder than the granite they carved, while others show evidence of drilling techniques that could remove large amounts of material quickly and precisely. The transportation and positioning of massive stone blocks presents another technological puzzle. Some of the granite elements in the complex weigh over 80 tons and were quarried hundreds of miles away in Aswan. Moving these blocks using the technology supposedly available to the ancient Egyptians would have required logistics capabilities that rival modern heavy construction projects. As you examine the joints between massive stone blocks, you discover that they were fitted together with tolerances measured in fractions of inches. This level of precision requires not just skilled craftsmanship, but advanced measurement and positioning techniques. The blocks weren't just stacked, they were engineered to fit together as components of larger structural systems. The evidence for advanced metallurgy becomes apparent as you examine the metal elements found throughout the complex. Copper fittings in the pyramid shafts show signs of advanced alloying techniques, while other metal artifacts demonstrate knowledge of metallurgical processes that wouldn't be discovered by Western science for thousands of years. You discover that the ancient builders possessed sophisticated knowledge of materials science. The concrete used in some parts of the complex shows evidence of advanced chemical understanding, while the selection and treatment of stone materials demonstrates knowledge of how different materials behave under various conditions of stress, temperature, and moisture. The acoustic engineering throughout the complex reveals understanding of sound propagation, resonance, and harmonic relationships that rivals modern audio engineering. The chambers and passages aren't just spaces, they're precisely tuned acoustic instruments designed to create specific sound effects and manipulate audio frequencies in ways that suggest advanced understanding of psychoacoustics. Historians still argue whether the ancient Egyptians possessed advanced technologies or achieved their results through simple techniques applied with extraordinary skill, but the evidence increasingly supports the former explanation. The precision, the scale, and the sophistication of the engineering all point to technological capabilities that go far beyond what we've traditionally attributed to ancient civilizations. The electromagnetic properties of the complex suggest the builders understood principles of electrical engineering that wouldn't be formally developed until the modern era. The use of materials with specific electromagnetic characteristics, the precise positioning of conductive elements, and the overall design of the structures all indicate knowledge of how electromagnetic fields behave and how they can be manipulated. You begin to understand that the technologies used at Giza might have been based on principles that we're only now rediscovering. The integration of acoustic, electromagnetic, and mechanical systems suggests an understanding of physics that approaches or exceeds our current knowledge in certain areas. The precision of the astronomical alignments throughout the complex demonstrates advanced knowledge of celestial mechanics and the ability to implement this knowledge in massive construction projects. The builders didn't just observe the movements of stars and planets. They encoded this information in stone with accuracy that rivals modern astronomical instruments. The hydraulic engineering throughout the complex shows understanding of fluid dynamics, pressure systems, and water management that demonstrates sophisticated engineering capabilities. The ancient builders created systems that could harness and direct water flow for both practical and technological purposes. As you examine the evidence for advanced ancient technologies, you realize that the builders of Giza possessed capabilities that we're still struggling to understand and replicate. The precision of their work, the sophistication of their engineering, and the integration of multiple technological systems all point to a level of advancement that doesn't fit our conventional understanding of ancient civilizations. The implications are staggering. If the ancient Egyptians possessed advanced technologies, then we need to completely rethink our understanding of human technological development. We might be looking at evidence of a lost civilization that achieved technological capabilities that we're only now beginning to approach. The technologies demonstrated at Giza suggest that human civilization might have achieved advanced capabilities much earlier than we've traditionally believed. The question isn't whether the ancient builders were more advanced than we thought. It's whether they possessed knowledge and technologies that we've lost and are still trying to rediscover. Standing among these ancient monuments, you can't escape the feeling that you're looking at the remnants of a technological civilization that understood principles of engineering, physics, and materials science that we're only now beginning to appreciate. The builders of Giza weren't primitive. They were sophisticated engineers, working with technologies that continue to challenge our understanding of what's possible. Asterisk. You find yourself considering the most controversial aspect of the Giza complex, the possibility that these monuments weren't built as tombs at all, but as components of a planetary defense system designed to protect Earth from cosmic threats. The evidence, while circumstantial, is compelling enough to make you question everything you thought you knew about the purpose of these ancient structures. The astronomical alignments throughout the complex aren't just decorative or ceremonial. They're precisely calibrated to track and predict the movements of celestial objects that could pose threats to Earth. The pyramid's internal passages point to specific stars and constellations with the accuracy of modern telescopes, creating a Stone Age early warning system for cosmic phenomena. The Great Pyramid's missing capstone becomes more significant when you consider it as a component of a defensive system. The structure's shape and internal geometry create natural focusing effects for electromagnetic radiation, and a conductive capstone could have served as the focal point for energy systems designed to deflect or destroy incoming threats. As you examine the complex's relationship to Earth's magnetic field and gravitational systems, you begin to see how the monuments could have been designed to interact with planetary forces in ways that could influence or deflect cosmic objects. The precision of their positioning and orientation suggests they were built to take advantage of specific geophysical phenomena. The underground network beneath the complex takes on new significance when viewed as part of a defensive system. The tunnels and chambers could have housed equipment, personnel, or systems necessary for monitoring and responding to cosmic threats. The network's integration with the surface monuments suggests a unified system designed for coordinated operations. You discover that the complex's design incorporates features that would be essential for a long-term monitoring and defense installation. The structures are built to last for millennia, with redundant systems and backup capabilities that could maintain operations even after partial damage or system failures. The acoustic properties of the complex could have served communication and coordination functions essential for a planetary defense system. The ability to transmit information quickly and accurately throughout the network would be crucial for coordinating responses to incoming threats. Historians still argue whether the ancient Egyptians possessed the knowledge and motivation to build planetary defense systems, but the evidence suggests they understood cosmic threats that we're only now beginning to appreciate. Ancient texts from various cultures describe catastrophic events from space that devastated early civilizations. The mathematical relationships encoded throughout the complex include information about orbital mechanics, gravitational interactions, and other aspects of celestial mechanics that would be essential for predicting and responding to cosmic threats. The builders didn't just observe the sky, they understood how celestial objects move and interact. You begin to understand that the complex's various systems, electromagnetic, acoustic, hydraulic, and mechanical, could have worked together to create effects capable of influencing the trajectories of incoming cosmic objects. The integration of these systems suggests a unified purpose that goes far beyond monument construction. The complex's positioning at the center of Earth's landmass becomes more significant when viewed as a strategic location for planetary defense. From this position, systems could monitor and respond to threats approaching from any direction, while the stable geological foundation would provide a secure base for long-term operations. The evidence for advanced technologies throughout the complex supports the possibility that the ancient builders possessed capabilities necessary for planetary defense. The precision engineering, the sophisticated materials, science, and the integration of multiple technological systems all suggest capabilities that could have been applied to defensive purposes. As you consider the implications of the planetary defense theory, you realize that it could explain many of the mysteries surrounding the Giza complex. The precision of the construction, the sophisticated engineering, the astronomical alignments, and the apparent technological purposes all make sense when viewed as components of a system designed to protect Earth from cosmic threats. The theory also explains why the complex was built to last for millennia, and why it incorporates redundant systems and backup capabilities. A planetary defense system would need to operate reliably over geological timescales, maintaining its capabilities even as civilizations rose and fell around it. The possibility that the Giza complex represents humanity's first planetary defense system is both exciting and sobering. It suggests that our ancestors understood cosmic threats that we're only now beginning to appreciate, and that they possessed the knowledge and capabilities necessary to build systems designed to protect our planet. Standing among these ancient monuments, you can't help but wonder whether the systems are still functional, still monitoring the skies for threats that could endanger our civilization. The precision of their construction and the sophistication of their engineering suggest that they were built to operate for far longer than the few thousand years since their construction. The question isn't whether the ancient builders were capable of creating planetary defense systems. The evidence suggests they possessed the knowledge and technologies necessary for such projects. The real question is whether we're wise enough to understand and maintain the systems they left behind. You find yourself examining the connections between the Giza complex and other ancient sites around the world, and what you discover suggests that the monuments in Egypt might be part of a much larger global network of ancient installations. The precision of their positioning, the similarity of their construction techniques, and the mathematical relationships they share with distant sites all point to coordinated planning on a planetary scale. The Great Pyramid's location at the exact center of Earth's landmass isn't coincidental. It's strategically chosen to serve as a hub for a global network of monuments that span continents and cultures. When you plot the positions of other ancient sites on a world map, patterns emerge that suggest systematic placement according to geometric principles that take into account Earth's size, shape, and rotational characteristics. Stonehenge, thousands of miles away in England, shares mathematical relationships with Giza that seem too precise to be coincidental. The distance between the sites, when measured in specific units, yields numbers that appear repeatedly in the dimensions of both monuments. The astronomical alignments at Stonehenge complement those at Giza, creating a system that could track celestial phenomena across different latitudes and seasons. The megalithic sites of South America present even more intriguing connections. Machu Picchu, Sacsayhuaman, and other Andean monuments demonstrate construction techniques remarkably similar to those used at Giza's stone blocks, fitted together with precision that defies explanation. Astronomical alignments that demonstrate advanced knowledge of celestial mechanics, and engineering capabilities that challenge our understanding of ancient technology. As you examine the global distribution of these sites, you notice that they're positioned along specific geometric patterns that seem to take advantage of Earth's natural energy lines and magnetic field variations. The ancient builders appear to have understood geophysical principles that we're only now beginning to explore, positioning their monuments to interact with planetary forces in ways that could enhance their technological capabilities. The construction techniques used at sites around the world show remarkable similarities despite being separated by thousands of miles and supposedly different cultures. The precision stone cutting, the massive block transportation, the sophisticated engineering all suggests the work of builders who shared knowledge, techniques, and possibly even direct coordination. You discover that many of these global sites incorporate the same mathematical constants and geometric relationships found at Giza. The golden ratio, pi, and various astronomical cycles appear repeatedly in monuments from Easter Island to Cambodia, suggesting a shared understanding of mathematical principles that governed ancient construction projects worldwide. Historians still argue whether these similarities represent independent development of similar techniques or evidence of contact between ancient civilizations, but the precision of the relationships and the sophistication of the engineering increasingly support the latter explanation. The coordination required to create such a network would demand communication and planning capabilities that challenge our understanding of ancient civilizations. The acoustic properties of sites around the world show remarkable consistency with those found at Giza. Chambers and passages at distant sites demonstrate the same understanding of sound propagation and resonance effects, suggesting that acoustic engineering was a crucial component of the global network's design and operation. The astronomical alignments at various sites create a comprehensive system for tracking celestial phenomena from multiple locations around the globe. Each site appears to have been positioned to monitor specific aspects of cosmic activity, with the network as a whole providing complete coverage of potential threats and astronomical events. You begin to understand that the global network might have been designed to function as a planetary monitoring and defense system, with individual sites serving as components of a larger technological infrastructure. The coordination of construction, the similarity of techniques, and the integration of astronomical and engineering principles all support this interpretation. The implications of a global ancient network are staggering. If the monuments at Giza are indeed connected to similar installations around the world, then we're looking at evidence of a prehistoric civilization that possessed global communication capabilities, advanced transportation systems, and coordinated planning, abilities that rival anything we've achieved today. The network's apparent focus on astronomical monitoring and potential defensive capabilities suggests that ancient civilizations understood cosmic threats that we're only now beginning to appreciate. The builders of these monuments weren't just creating impressive structures. They were implementing a global early warning and response system designed to protect Earth from catastrophic events. The precision of the network's design and the sophistication of its individual components suggest that the ancient builders possessed knowledge and capabilities that we've lost and are still trying to rediscover. The mathematical relationships, the engineering techniques, and the technological integration all point to a level of advancement that challenges our understanding of human development. As you consider the evidence for a global ancient network, you realize that the monuments at Giza might represent just one node in a planetary system that once spanned the globe. The precision of their construction, the sophistication of their engineering, and their apparent technological purposes all make more sense when viewed as components of a larger infrastructure designed to protect and monitor our planet. Standing among these ancient monuments, you can't help but wonder whether the network is still functional, still monitoring cosmic activity and standing ready to respond to threats that could endanger our civilization. The precision of their construction and the permanence of their design suggests they were built to operate across geological timescales, maintaining their capabilities long after the civilizations that built them had disappeared. Asterisk, you find yourself contemplating the most profound implications of everything you've discovered about the Giza complex and its potential connections to a global ancient network. If these monuments truly represent remnants of an advanced prehistoric civilization capable of planetary-scale engineering projects, then human history is far more complex and mysterious than we've ever imagined. The evidence suggests that our ancestors possessed knowledge and capabilities that we're only now beginning to understand. The precision of their engineering, the sophistication of their astronomical knowledge, and the apparent technological purposes of their monuments all point to a level of advancement that challenges every assumption we've made about the development of human civilization. That the possibility that these ancient installations were designed as planetary defense systems raises profound questions about the cosmic environment our ancestors inhabited. What threats did they perceive that required such massive, permanent installations? What knowledge did they possess about cosmic cycles and celestial mechanics that we've forgotten or never acquired? The mathematical relationships encoded throughout these monuments suggest that the ancient builders understood fundamental principles of physics, astronomy, and engineering that we consider modern discoveries. The fact that they implemented this knowledge in stone, creating permanent records that have survived for millennia, indicates a level of foresight and planning that spans geological timescales. As you consider the implications of advanced ancient technologies, you realize that we might be looking at evidence of a lost golden age of human civilization, a time when our ancestors possessed capabilities that we've spent centuries trying to rediscover. The precision of their work, the scale of their projects, and the integration of their systems all suggest technological sophistication that rivals or exceeds our current capabilities. The global nature of the ancient network implies coordination and communication capabilities that would have required advanced transportation and information systems. If ancient civilizations could coordinate construction projects across continents, they possessed logistical and organizational capabilities that challenge our understanding of prehistoric human societies. The apparent focus on astronomical monitoring and planetary defense suggests that ancient civilizations understood their place in the cosmic environment in ways that we're only now beginning to appreciate. They built their monuments not just for local purposes, but as components of systems designed to protect Earth itself from cosmic threats. Historians still argue whether these interpretations represent valid scientific theories or speculative fiction, but the evidence continues to accumulate in ways that support the more radical explanations. The precision of the construction, the sophistication of the engineering, and the apparent technological purposes all point to capabilities that go far beyond what we've traditionally attributed to ancient civilizations. The implications for our understanding of human development are staggering. If ancient civilizations possessed advanced technologies and global coordination capabilities, then human progress hasn't been a steady upward climb from primitive beginnings. Instead, we might be looking at evidence of cyclical development, with periods of advancement followed by collapse and rebuilding. The possibility that we're rediscovering rather than discovering many of our modern technologies raises profound questions about the nature of human knowledge and progress. The mathematical constants, the engineering principles, and the astronomical knowledge demonstrated at these ancient sites suggests that fundamental truths about the universe have been understood and forgotten. Multiple times throughout human history, you begin to understand that the monuments at Giza and similar sites around the world might represent more than just impressive ancient construction projects. They could be libraries of knowledge encoded in stone, designed to preserve crucial information across the rise and fall of civilizations. The mathematical relationships, the astronomical alignments, and the engineering specifications all serve as permanent records of advanced understanding. The acoustic properties of these monuments take on new significance when viewed as information storage and transmission systems. The precise resonance frequencies, the harmonic relationships between different chambers, and the acoustic coupling between structures all suggest that sound was used not just for communication but for encoding and preserving knowledge in ways that we're only beginning to understand. The electromagnetic properties of the monuments suggest that the ancient builders understood principles of energy manipulation that we're still exploring. The use of materials with specific electromagnetic characteristics, the precise positioning of conductive elements, and the overall design of the structures all indicate knowledge of how electromagnetic fields can be harnessed and directed for technological purposes. As you contemplate the evidence for advanced ancient civilizations, you realize that we might be living in the shadow of achievements that we haven't yet matched. The precision of ancient construction, the sophistication of ancient engineering, and the apparent technological capabilities of ancient builders all suggest that human civilization has achieved remarkable heights before, only to lose that knowledge and have to rediscover it. The cyclical nature of human development implied by this evidence suggests that we're not the first advanced civilization to inhabit Earth, and we probably won't be the last. The monuments at Giza and similar sites around the world might represent attempts by previous civilizations to preserve their knowledge and warn future generations about cosmic threats and cyclical catastrophes. The apparent focus on planetary defense and cosmic monitoring suggests that ancient civilizations understood threats that we're only now beginning to appreciate. The precision of their astronomical observations, the sophistication of their engineering, and the permanent nature of their installations all point to preparations for events that operate on timescales far longer than individual human lifespans. The integration of multiple technologies and systems at these ancient sites demonstrates an understanding of how different forces and phenomena can be combined to achieve effects that exceed the sum of their parts. The acoustic, electromagnetic, hydraulic, and mechanical systems all work together in ways that suggest advanced understanding of systems, engineering, and integration. Standing among these ancient monuments, you can't escape the feeling that you're witnessing the remnants of a civilization that understood its place in the cosmic environment far better than we do. The builders of Giza weren't just creating impressive monuments, they were implementing systems designed to protect and preserve human civilization across geological timescales. The question isn't whether ancient civilizations were more advanced than we've given them credit, for the evidence clearly demonstrates capabilities that challenge our understanding of human development. The real question is whether we're wise enough to learn from their example and understand the knowledge they've preserved for us in stone. The monuments at Giza and similar sites around the world represent more than just archaeological curiosities. They're messages from our ancestors encoded in the most permanent medium available to them. The precision of their construction, the sophistication of their engineering, and the apparent technological purposes all serve as testimony to human capabilities that we're still trying to understand, and match as you prepare to leave these ancient monuments. You realize that you've been witness to evidence of human achievement that spans far more time and demonstrates far greater sophistication than conventional history suggests. The builders of Giza weren't primitive. They were advanced engineers and astronomers who understood principles of physics and mathematics that we consider modern discoveries. Asterisk. You find yourself taking one final walk around the Giza complex as the desert sun begins to set, painting the ancient stones in shades of gold and amber that seem to bring the monuments to life. The shadows grow longer, and in this softer light, you can almost imagine these structures as they once were not weathered ruins, but functioning installations humming with purpose and energy. The evidence you've examined throughout this journey paints a picture of human civilization that's far more complex and mysterious than anything you learned in school. The precision of the construction, the sophistication of the engineering, the apparent technological purposes all point to capabilities and knowledge that challenge every assumption about ancient human societies. As you stand in the shadow of the Great Pyramid, you can almost feel the weight of millennia pressing down around you. This monument has witnessed the rise and fall of empires, the birth and death of religions, the advance and retreat of human knowledge, yet it endures as permanent and mysterious as the day it was completed, still guarding whatever secrets its builders encoded in stone. The Sphinx watches the eastern horizon with the same patient gaze it has maintained for thousands of years, weathered by rains that fell when the Sahara was green, marked by floods that occurred when human civilization was supposedly in its infancy. Its water-worn features speak of ages we can barely comprehend, of knowledge that spans geological time, scales. The mathematical relationships woven throughout the complex seem to pulse with significance in the fading light. Pi encoded in stone, the golden ratio manifest in massive architecture. Astronomical constants preserved in permanent formal testimony to minds that understood the fundamental patterns underlying reality itself. You realize that the builders of Giza weren't just constructing monuments, they were creating a message, a permanent communication to future generations about the nature of the cosmos and humanity's place within it. They understood that civilizations rise and fall, that knowledge can be lost and rediscovered, that the only way to preserve crucial information across the ages is to encode it in the most permanent medium available. The acoustic properties of the chambers seem to whisper with the voices of ancient engineers, their understanding of sound and resonance preserved in stone that will outlast any written record. The electromagnetic characteristics of the structures continue to interact with planetary forces, maintaining their technological potential even after millennia of dormancy. As twilight deepens, the stars begin to appear in the desert sky, the same constellations that guided the ancient builders in their precise alignments. Orion rises in the east, its belt stars perfectly mirrored by the pyramids below, creating a connection between earth and sky that has endured for thousands of years. The underground network beneath your feet extends into darkness, connecting chambers and passages that may still hold secrets waiting to be discovered. The hydraulic systems that once channeled water through the complex lie dormant, their precise engineering preserved in limestone and granite that will endure long after our modern cities have crumbled to dust. You begin to understand that the real mystery of Giza isn't what these monuments are, it's what they were designed to do, and whether that purpose might still be relevant today. The precision of their construction, the sophistication of their engineering, and the apparent focus on cosmic monitoring and planetary defense all suggest systems that were built to operate across geological timescales. The global network of similar monuments scattered across Earth's surface creates a pattern of ancient installations that may still be functioning on levels we don't yet understand. The mathematical relationships, the astronomical alignments, and the technological integration all point to a planetary system that was designed to endure long after its builders had passed into legend. As the last light fades from the western sky, you find yourself surrounded by monuments that have stood sentinel over human civilization for longer than recorded history. They've watched empires rise and fall, seen knowledge gained and lost, witnessed the slow cycle of human progress and decline that seems to characterize our species' relationship with advanced understanding. The desert wind carries whispers of ancient purposes, of knowledge preserved in stone, of systems that wait patiently for humanity to develop the wisdom necessary to understand and reactivate them. The builders of Giza created more than monuments. They created a legacy, a permanent testament to human capability and cosmic awareness that continues to challenge and inspire us today. Standing among these ancient marvels as night settles over the plateau, you realize that you've been witness to something far greater than impressive architecture. You've encountered evidence of human achievement that spans millennia, of knowledge that transcends individual civilizations, of purposes that may still be relevant to our survival as a species. The monuments of Giza stand as eternal guardians, watching over secrets that could revolutionize our understanding of human history and our place in the cosmos. They remind us that we are not the first advanced civilization to inhabit this planet, and they challenge us to consider whether we possess the wisdom to learn from those who came before us. As you prepare to leave this ancient place, the stars wheel overhead in their eternal dance, the same cosmic clockwork that guided the builders of Giza in their monumental task. The pyramids stand silhouetted against the star-filled sky, their missing capstones reaching toward infinity, still waiting, still watching, still guarding the secrets they were built to preserve. In the gentle desert breeze, you can almost hear the whisper of ancient voices speaking across the millennia with a message both simple and profound. We were here. We understood. We built these monuments to endure. The question they leave us with is whether we are wise enough to listen, to learn, and to carry forward the knowledge they preserved in stone for future generations to discover. The night settles softly around you, and in the peaceful silence of the desert, you find yourself drifting toward sleep, your mind filled with visions of ancient engineers and cosmic guardians, of knowledge preserved in stone and secrets waiting to be rediscovered. The monuments of Giza stand eternal watch as you rest, their ancient purpose still unfolding across the vast expanse of time, still protecting, still preserving, still calling to those with eyes to see and minds to understand.